Hello, this is Pillow Basics. I am Joe Aylor, and we will be talking about the basic uses of the Pillow library. What is Pillow? It is a Python library. It is a user-friendly fork of an existing library called Pill, which is the Python imaging library. It's used for creating and manipulating images, specifically raster images. Raster image is basically just a matrix of pixels, something like bitmaps, PNGs, JPEGs, things like that. If you want to install Pillow, it can be done simply through pip, and that gets it from PyPy. But some of the optional features that Pillow has rely on external libraries, such as libjpeg for more fancy JPEG things, zlib for compressed PNGs, TIFFs or libtiff for TIFF functionality, libfreetype for adding text and things to your images, and libwebp for the WebP format. And all those can be installed from your package manager, whether it's brew or apt, something like that. To load images into Pill, you simply call the static open method on the image class. This method takes a string representing the path to an image. It can also take a bytes.io object, an open file, or a string that's a path to a tar file. And once you're done changing your image, you can save it by calling the save method. And the save method also takes a string, which is a file path to where you want to save it. And then once you're done with everything, you can call close, which removes the file from memory, which is great if you're doing something automated, like with a script. So for example, if I say logo equals image.open python.png logo.show, there we go. We have our Python logo. Now, if we want to open up something like from the web, which is something I do quite often, you can call, we'll just call this via requests, and then we can say image, or yeah, there we go, pi ohio equals image.open bytes.io of response.content pi ohio.show, and there we go. And we can even say pi ohio.save ohio.png, and then we can see we have pi ohio.png here saved on our disk. Another common thing you have to do is convert between formats. To do this, you simply need to define how you want to save it in the string you pass to the save method. So if you want to save it as a PNG, you say, filename.png, and it'll make it a PNG. If you want to have it be a TIFF, you say filename.tiff, and that's what it'll be. You just have to be careful that if you have transparencies in your image and you try to save it as a format that doesn't support transparencies like JPEG, then you have to change the mode of the file. A mode is a property of the image class that defines how each pixel is processed. There's many modes, but some of the most common are RGB, and each pixel represents a hex value of red, green, and blue. RGBA, the value represents red, green, blue, and alpha is the transparency layer. Another common one you'll find is L, which makes an image grayscale, and if it has a low value, it'll be very dark, and if it has a high value, it'll be very light. And some example of these, we can take our logo, and we will save it as python.tiff. And we will save it as python.webp, python.ppm, and if we try python.jpg, it'll bark at us because it has transparencies. JPEG doesn't like that. So we'll look at logo.mode. We'll see that's RGBA, so that won't do. And we'll say logo.mode equals RGB. Logo.save python.jpg, and there we go. So if we open up our files directory I've been saving things to, we will see that we have python.tiff, python.jpg, python.ppm, and python.webp, and you can see it just replaces the transparency with a solid color for the JPEG. Resizing images. Each image has a size property that is a tuple of 2 integers. Each image also has a resize method that takes a new tuple of 2 integers, and basically that's your new width and height, and it'll stretch it however it needs to. There's also a thumbnail method that takes a maximum width and height as a tuple of 2 integers and resizes the image to make the image fit into that box, and it retains the original proportions. So it makes it as big as it can while still fitting in that box and retaining the original proportions. The thumbnail method, though, works in place instead of returning a new image object like most things do. So once you call thumbnail, your image has been changed into that thumbnail. So, for example, if we look at our logo and we look at our size, it's about 700 by 700. So we say logo.resize, and we'll say 1400 by 700, and we say show. We can see we have made it very wide, and if we do like this, we can make it very, very long. And then if we say logo.thumbnail, and we'll give it a box of 90 by that, and logo.show, we see it's kept the original proportions, and it has made it very small. To rotate images, you call the rotate method on the image object, and that takes the number of degrees you want to rotate by. That's simple. There is also a transpose method that can rotate by predefined amounts, 90, 180, 270, and that also gives you the ability to flip left, right, flip top, bottom, transpose, and transverse the image. So, for example, if we say logo.rotate 45.show, we have our rotated logo. Now, if we say 180.show, it flips the colors. It rotates 180, but that's what it looks like. And if we say transpose image.transverse, there we go. We get it transversed, and we can say flip top bottom, and it flips it over. For cropping images, there's a crop method on the image object, and it takes 4 points, the left, upper, right, and lower, and those are defined in the coordinate system. And the coordinate system of Pillow starts with 0, 0 being at the top left, and so the bottom left pixel would be 0, and then image height -1. So to do something like crop my face, it would be like left would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7. Right would be about 9, and then top would be 1, and bottom would be like 4, something like that. So some examples of this. If we go back to our logo, we see our logo is 700 by 700. So if we want the bottom quarter of our logo, we could say logo.crop, and we would say 350. So that would be our left, that would be our top, and then our right and our bottom would be the very right and the very bottom. And we will see the bottom right quadrant of our image. Now, if we wanted like the bottom half, we could just change this, change our left point, and we get the bottom of the logo. If you'd like to know a little more, the official documentation can be found here, and it is excellent. And these slides and the code that was ran can be found in this repo here, and thank you very much for watching.